Hello, SHRM family. Welcome to another edition of the WorkplaceTech Spotlight. I'm Guillermo Correa, Managing Director of SHRM Labs, SHRM's Workplace Innovation Lab. I'm your host for this series where we shine a spotlight on some of the most interesting future of work topics, innovators, and disruptive technologies. Before we get to today's topic, we just have some quick announcements that we wanted to put out there to everyone. So for SHRM members, once again, just a gentle reminder that the Workplace Tech community is live. This is the TripAdvisor for HR Tech, and it's available only to SHRM members. Please visit workplacetechcommunity.shrm.org. For Workplace Tech innovators and startup founders that might be listening in, the application period for next year's Better Workplaces Challenge Cup is still open. The application deadline is January 15th. And finally, for SHRM members listening in today, the Better Workplaces Challenge Cup also has a member track. If you've solved HR problems at work in a new and innovative way, we encourage you to apply. By the way, the winner gets a free trip to the SHRM Annual Conference, which next year is being held in Chicago. And then for those of you watching on LinkedIn or other social media platforms, please share this live stream and tag SHRM. You can also use the hashtags SHRM Labs as well as Workplace Tech. So today we are going to do a 2023 Workplace Tech year in review. 2023 has seen no shortage of innovation in HR technology. AI, I think all of you have heard about that, right? Has already had a profound impact on our profession and will continue to influence the future of HR. We've also seen technology being used to help organizations in a multitude of ways, from improving employee well-being to managing a remote workforce. We've had conversations this year with leaders in HR transformation, experts in mental health and well-being, and innovators in talent acquisition. And so now it's time to reflect on the incredible amount of positive change we've seen in 2023. So joining us today to talk about this topic is Jessica Cheung, Principal and Senior Advisor at Mercer LeapGen in Toronto. She spent the last 2 decades working with WorkTech vendors on everything from product marketing and positioning to strategy and global expansion. In her current role, she advises WorkTech vendors on everything from strategy, product, and positioning, and also serves as a WorkTech analyst. So Jess, welcome to the stage. And next up, we also have Josh Rock, Talent Acquisition Manager for Nuss Truck Equipment in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and a SHRM influencer. And also, by the way, we met through this channel. We connected offline, talked about our common interest, and it led to today's show. And so if you're an HR subject matter expert out there and want to come on this show to discuss a specific topic that will be of value to your HR colleagues, please reach out to us and, we'll figure out how to get you in here, right? But, for right now, let's get to today's topic. Jessica and Josh, thanks so much for joining us. Great to have you here.
Thanks
any
for
quick
having
comments before we get going?
I can't wait. This is the chance to go back and think of all the craziness that has happened in 2023 and looking ahead to 2024. It's going to be so exciting. Super happy to be here, and thanks for having me.
Sure.
Yeah, as Jess said, thanks for having us, Guillermo. Good to connect live on the feed instead of over here in the chat conversation. So yeah, I look forward to seeing what the those that are checking in today have to say in the chat, interacting with them, not only there, but also here in our conversation.
And I love that there's a global audience here. I see everything from Nigeria and France to Charlotte, North Carolina. So I love the global audience.
Yeah, amazing. All right, so let's get right to it since we only have a short period of time. So with all the changes, right, in the HR tech offerings and provider landscape in 2023, how would you summarize the work tech space in one word? So Jess, maybe we can start with you.
Unpredictable. I don't think any of us thought that generative AI was going to happen in 2023. Shine the crystal ball 12 months ago. We were not thinking about generative AI. We sort of knew that AI existed tangentially, but we didn't think that it was going to have such a big impact. And every conversation I had with vendors, and at Mercer, we work with virtually every vendor in the work tech space, and every conversation was AI. And all of a sudden, if you didn't have an AI strategy as a work tech vendor, you needed to either come up with one or you needed to update your positioning to talk about it, because that was so prevalent I read a recent study from LinkedIn that said there was an increase of 70% of individuals searching for the term AI in 2023. Like 70% of people were searching for AI. Like, of course it's going to impact, but nobody could have predicted that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, who could have predicted that there was going to be a major competitor to Google, for example? So, Josh, what about on your end? What's your word?
Since Jess mentioned everybody talking about it, yes, everything was repetitive in 2023. All the enterprise level providers were talking about the same thing. Nobody really wowed me with it. When it's that in your face, it's there. The HR tech landscape pretty much read like a top 40 radio station. Everybody was playing Taylor Swift. But
You're not a Taylor Swift fan, Josh? Like,
I'm not a Swiftie, sorry. Country radio is more my jam. But granted, AI dominated the headlines just like Taylor Swift did in 23. I kind of was wanting to see more depth. That's just me.
So, but do you think that headline around AI was justified, or is it just a buzzword? Like, for me, AI is really about how it's going to impact the now work, the future work, and how it's going to address the same challenges that organizations were facing before we started talking about AI, before generative AI came into the conversation and had all the possibilities there. To me, AI is an add. It's not necessarily a separate component.
Correct. It's a total add. We're seeing adoption in varying degrees across the HR landscape, whether it's from leadership to practitioner to even our candidates. Is it where we want it? We don't know, because the adoption is in varying degrees. We'll have to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And I find it interesting that a lot of people have been scared of AI, right? And but in reality, think of back. I think the perfect example for this is when the calculator came out, right? And a lot of people thought, accountants are, or when Excel came out, right? And accountants are going to be put out of business. And, it's been quite the opposite, right? I think it's just going to help people become more efficient. And actually, the one thing you need to be scared of, and this is kind of like what Sherm has been communicating out, is that you need to be scared of somebody who knows AI, right? If you don't know AI, you better make sure that you join that or you get that skill set, right? By the way, I'm getting some feedback. I don't know if you guys are hearing that. It seems to be maybe you're touching your mic or something. So, anyway. So what do you think are the key themes that you saw emerge, and what does this evolve into as we enter 2024?
Domestically, we're going to see companies trying to do more with less with the dollars that they've invested in. We're already seeing recruiting teams being contracted across the country and across the globe. We're going to see that in the HR tech vendor space as well. People want greater value for what they're investing. We're seeing things start to come down a little bit, and that's going to be, changes in vendor relations and partnerships. So what we're hopefully going to see is the vendors deepening their bench, perfecting their tools, so that way they can retain the customers that they have. You're not going to have 900 products in an HR suite anymore. You're going to see that kind of, condense a little bit because people need to be responsible on how they're spending their budgets. We're going to come around to another cycle where those recruiting teams that have been let go are going to be needed. I mean, Google, come on. You're going to come around where you're going to need a lot of talent, and you're not going to have the recruiters you had before. It's going to be in a world of hurt, and it's going to help with the right tech space or right tech stack ahead of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that analytics also plays a great role here, if you think about it, right? And one of the messages that we've put out there to our audience this year is, you need to have that data to be able to tell that story, right, around what it is that, or make your business case for the the systems that you have to to have in place, right, or the resources that you need. Jess, anything you want to add here?
Yeah, I'm just going to sort of add on to what Josh said is Mercer did an HR Tech Conference study. We do it a few times a year, and the results actually don't change significantly time and time again. But what's interesting is that 50% of people believe that their HR tech investment is too low, but at the same time, 50% believe that the organization's adoption of that investment is failing to meet expectations. So what does that tell me? One is that organizations are spending a tremendous amount on HR technology and workplace technology. And it's interesting as you talk domestically versus globally, what are the regional differences that exist that are going to happen over the next 12, 24, 36 months. The APAC market's still bullish, going to grow, absolutely. So if you are a work tech vendor, think of the opportunity that may exist in the APAC market versus the North American market, which may stay stagnant, may contract a little bit. I'm not an economist. I don't have my abacus that's, I played with as a child. I'm dating myself now, but when we look at HR tech investment and the transformation that needs to happen for organizations to actually truly take advantage of that, how can work tech actually support the transformation of an organization? Tech isn't the silver bullet. It's not going to solve all of it. There needs to be a transformation that exists. So for organizations that are really saying, buy and invest this piece of technology, great. But is just the technology going to support the change that you and the outcomes you want to see? Probably not.
Yeah, absolutely. One quick note that I wanted to make around that is, so over the past couple of days, I had the privilege of being at a SHRM Foundation event down in Bentonville, Arkansas. It was done in a collaboration with the Charles Koch Foundation as well as the Walmart Foundation. And it was an education design lab around demand and or skills. The demand for skills out there. But one interesting thing that happened from the table that I sat at is we came up with this notion of there needs to be kind of like an HR data analytics quarterback. So as we think about all the issues around HR tech and everything, right? I think that there's going to be a need. Maybe 2024 will be the year, right? Of having this one person in HR that can come in and be, kind of like the quarterback for all these, a variety of all these HR tech issues, right? So with all the themes in mind, right, that we just talked about, what are some of the highlights or maybe some of the lowlights that you saw in 2023? Jess, maybe we start with you.
I think, I alluded to it earlier. It's the low light is the lack of adoption and the success that organizations are expecting to see as a result of deploying work tech. And that's a low light. The highlight is all the innovation that's happening. It's a really, really exciting time to be in this space. We have organizations that are creating new technologies, that are innovating, that are pushing the envelope. And at the same time, they're trying to figure out exactly how to navigate this world that we live in, this borderless world that we live in. And, they say that there is a shortage of talent, but when you think about it globally, there's talent everywhere. It's a matter of finding the right talent, regardless of geography, where it makes sense. There was a study that was done recently from, again, Mercer on the state of talent acquisition. And something like 60% of companies said they weren't able to find and attract top talent. And to me, that's crazy, because when you think about the borderless world that we live in and the mobility of humans, there are individuals around the world that can do the jobs and are top talent that you can harness and looking at the ways in which you can actually work with these individuals and bring them into your organization to make that difference and to drive a lot of the transformation that you're doing. Technology enables a borderless workforce. Technology enables the human experience, but it's not just technology. Technology is enabling it. So what else is going to come up in 2024? 2023 was a great year. We'll see.
Yeah, and I would say, to add something there, the technology is certainly there, right? I mean, you could be sitting in the Bahamas drinking pina coladas and be able to do your job, right? As long as you're able to do it online and everything. The only thing that I can think of that would come into play here would be, when you start talking about like the work permit and legal aspects, right?
There's a tremendous amount of compliance that's required, the ways in which you manage people in other countries, the legal entities, the cultural components absolutely need to be taken into consideration. But if you don't address that, and if you don't have a global workforce talent or mobility strategy, how much talent are you missing out on? Use technology and insights and people to solve for the compliance challenges and the hiring and the challenges, but use those people, find them. They're there. I've worked remote for 20 plus years, and it's amazing. And it's my organizations have benefited from the fact that I live in a different geography.
Fantastic. Josh, highlights, lowlights.
I wish I could, wave the same pom-poms that Jess is, but I have to be somewhat contrarian in the fact that I come from two industries that doesn't allow workplace mobility: healthcare and transportation. Patients are static. Patients are where the facility is. You can't have a nurse in another country delivering care necessarily to a patient in Minneapolis, or in my case now, trucks. What I'm hiring for the most is diesel mechanics. And yes, there is fewer people going into that profession. But what we're doing is we're grabbing the reins ahead of time, working with high schools and colleges across the country to build a foundation of that talent, and also presenting our brand to make them the brand of choice somewhere in their career. So we're working on those things, but we're leaning on our HR tech partners to help us harness that detail sooner. And so when we talk about, this year, we've seen HR tech vendors doubling down, spending time perfecting the tools that they've had in areas that they were deficient. Whether they had a crystal ball and knew that recruiting teams might be decimated like we've seen this year, and going into 24 or not, we've seen some of those things happening. We've seen investments into the places where they weren't the strongest. Maybe you're a payroll provider, HCM, that has a weaker ATS, strengthening that tool or partnering with that, going to other HR events across the country and finding new partners, bringing in tools that aren't in your HR suite right now. So you have one holistic approach to solving HR's needs. We're starting to see those things at a greater capacity. And who knows, we may see that more next year, knowing that we're seeing a shift in HR teams in a variety of different disciplines, not only here domestically, but also globally. It'll be interesting to see how that shift that we've seen from the second half of this year transitions into 24.
Yeah,
well, I think that's interesting.
Go ahead, Jess. Sorry.
I think it's interesting what Josh said, and I think it really highlights the nuances of organizations. There isn't a one size fits all. There isn't one vendor that's perfect for every organization, because every organization has different needs. They're trying to solve for different challenges that exist out there. And I love when organizations go and try to leverage technology to enable a lot of the challenges that they're facing. It's, Josh's example is absolutely true. Not every organization can be flexible and mobile, and that's okay. But it's finding ways to attract the talent that Josh needs to fill his organization and to grow his organization based off of what they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, Josh, at this event that I mentioned that I was at over the past 2 days, CDL drivers definitely came up a lot, without a doubt, as well as the healthcare industry, and actually some of the workforce development organizations there in Arkansas are even going down now into the middle schools to try to get people interested in a lot of these roles. By the way, I saw a great question here that came in from Ferdinand. Thank you so much for posting this up there. So maybe very quickly from the two of you, here I can't see the picture. Can you please define first AI and what would be the impact to HR? Any thoughts around that? Like, what would be your definition of AI and how it'll impact HR?
I don't know that we know what the impact to HR is going to be yet. I don't know that we have ideas, and I think the first application of AI and generative AI will be process improvement and enabling scalability and automation of some of those process-oriented tasks. But I think a big thing for leaders is that they don't know enough about AI. We don't know enough about the potential impact that it could stretch. I think that's still to be determined. I think that's in 2024. There's going to be a lot of that coming out in terms of how AI can be applied to managing people, regardless of where they live and work. But I think it's still to be determined. And AI has so many different definitions and applications. There's AI, but there's generative AI and the nuances that exist there. The market is still trying to identify what exactly that is. A lot of vendors out there have been using AI for years and years and years. Yeah. They just didn't call it AI. Absolutely. And now all of a sudden they're weaving that back into their narrative and the way in which they're speaking to HR leaders, because HR leaders want AI, but they don't know what exactly they want yet.
Yep. Josh, any comments around that question?
I mean, I'm seeing it already a little bit. I'm seeing it in its most basic form. Resumes via ChatGPT that are, wanting to look good and find a way through my filters or my biases or whatever, what I'm looking for in the positions I'm hiring. And then when I interview them, the spades are coming out. I'm actually seeing the truth behind the veil that AI has given them. That's the simple things. I'm seeing and hearing about HR leaders using it for job descriptions and other, marketing pieces to make it more inclusive, in some cases, or interesting, intriguing to want to do different things. And so I'm seeing it in the basic side. Am I seeing it in my tools? Yeah, I'm seeing it in technology tools. Obviously, we're hearing about it from just about every vendor in the marketplace. So what is the overall impact? Too early to tell. We're in its very first, we're in the infancy stage, I guess you could say, of what it's going to do. Let's leapfrog 5 years from now, and what is it really going to be? Who knows? But in its early stages, we're seeing some impacts. Are they drastic? No. Is it getting us to think differently and how we do our day-to-day and also project where we're going to be years from now? Sure. It's a useful tool, but you have to harness it the right way.
Yeah, and I think the key message here is as an HR leader, you definitely need to stay up to date and make sure you keep up to date and learn of the variety of different skills that are coming up with this whole AI initiative that's going on. So final question for the two of you, because we're getting to the top of the hour here. So we're only days from the start of 2024. Let's pull out your magic ball. What's your HR technology crystal ball telling you?
Jess, you want to go first or should I?
Hold on to your hats. I think we're in for a wild ride that is going to be exciting. I'm hearing a lot of vendors out there that are solving challenges with technology that I personally thought could never be solved with technology that I personally thought was virtually impossible. So hold on. I think there's going to be a lot of innovation. And at the same time, I think there's going to be a continued focus on the human and the person and how organizations can truly help support that employee experience, that employee journey, that overall experience that work brings to an individual's life, and how they manage that individual through AI, through processes, through transformation, through experience. It's going to be an exciting 2024. I'm going to call it here, and I'm going to say there's going to be something that just completely blows our mind in 2024. Don't know what it is. I'm not good at that crystal ball. But beyond just, creating an updated, creepy AI profile picture, I think we're going to see
it might be that Q thing that we keep hearing about from OpenAI, but who knows what that Q thing is going to be. Anyway,
who knows?
Josh,
I'm going to predict some vendors are going to go away. I think there's going to be some combination of some vendors. Some consolidation. People joining forces. We're going to see leaders of those firms changing parties, going to different places, and that's going to disrupt what we see and who we interact with. We, as HR professionals, we're so used to relationship-driven partnerships. Those are going to change because people are going to leave. That's going to change how we adopt or utilize a particular vendor because of those relationships changing and shifting. It's going to be interesting. We're going to see hopefully some smoothing out of the waves that we're seeing. But I think Jess is right too. Something's going to come out that it's going to blow our minds, and I'm excited for it. I love new HR technology. I do demos all the time to see what's out there. I'm excited to see what can change our workplace.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm glad that you mentioned that you do demos all the time. Especially you as an HR leader, right? That's what we encourage people to do. Absolutely. I know that for my HR people out there, I know that you probably don't like getting pounded by a salesperson all the time, but it's very important for you to do these demos out there to understand what's out there, right? And get to know the entire landscape. Well, unfortunately, that's all the time that we have for today. Jess and Josh, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a wonderful discussion, and I look forward to doing this again with you in 2024, And for everyone else out there, we hope you all enjoyed it as well. Thank you for tuning in to the last SHRM Labs Workplace Tech Spotlight of 2023. We're actually going to be taking a short break during the holidays, but meet us back here on January 5th, and we're going to be providing some early insights into 2024 trends that we're expecting. So once again, if you enjoy this live stream, please share it using hashtag SHRM Labs, Workplace Tech, and SHRM, and we will see you in 2024. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great day.